What is the impact of Trump's State of the Union address on the midterm elections? Joining us to discuss is Javier Palomarez, founder and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Business Council and former Obama campaign advisor. And we have Matt Klink, Republican strategist and political analyst. So first of all, good afternoon to you both. Thank you very much for being here. Matt, I'd like to start with you. So the question is, did Trump hit on all the necessary points in his address to convince the public to vote for his party come the midterms?
Well, I'll be a little tongue-in-cheek. If he didn't hit on it in almost 2 hours, I don't know what else there is left to say. No, in all seriousness, look, he focused on issues primarily the economy. That I know that my colleague will probably say something to the effect of the poll numbers are upside down for Trump on the economy. I would argue that the Republicans are still +3 on the economy over Democrats from an alternative perspective. What he also talked about, and he spent considerable amount of time on, were issues that Republicans hold double-digit advantages over Democrats. One being crime, another being immigration, and another being border security. I think what you saw from Donald Trump in that address was a lengthy discussion about the issues that Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress need to fight the midterms about. And he also countered fairly strongly, he didn't do it as strong as I would have, the laughable response about Democrats now talking about affordability when the Biden and Harris administration completely destroyed affordability, and Donald Trump is attempting to turn that oil tanker. It's just that you can't fix 4 years of mess ups in 1 year, but Donald Trump is doing everything he can to make that happen.
Okay, Javier, give us your response, and how do you view what Trump said in that address?
I mean, I agree with some of the points that Matt made. Inarguably, there's some good news, but when it comes to the State of the Union, Republicans will say that it was the best State of the Union they've ever heard. Democrats will say that it missed the mark woefully. Look, at the end of the day, the only thing that truly matters is how the American voter feels. And American voters that were with him before the State of the Union are still with him. American voters that were against him before the State of the Union are still against him. And I don't think that this State of the Union did enough to change the mind of those American voters that were on the fence.
All right. Speaking of the voters, there was a moment there that I want to bring up here where Trump invited Democrats to stand up to show support. Matt, I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's take a look at this clip.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
So, Matt, Javier brings up the idea that it's about what viewers see, right? So how do you think viewers or voters saw this moment, Matt?
Well, look, there's already ads out about this right now. So that was a made-for-TV moment that Donald Trump set up on purpose. The Democrats played true to form. He knew that they weren't going to stand. And look, it's very reality-based. Democrats do care more about illegal immigrants than they do about American citizens. Just look at what happened in New York with them giving Visa cards and hotel rooms to people that entered this country illegally, and yet they'll let American veterans sleep on the street. So again, this is a Republican plus, I think it's a plus 13 issue for Republicans. The Republicans are going to hammer it home. It was a driving factor for Trump's victory in 2024. And again, this is going to be something that he is going to campaign on aggressively in 2026, that we can't trust to put the radical Democrats back in power so that they can try to open the border again. So whether it resonates or not, it depends upon Donald Trump getting out and being a spokesperson for his policies.
Javier, your comments.
It was artfully played. Donald Trump, no question, he's a showman. He set this one up and the Democrats played right into it. But look, again, showmanship is one thing and moments like this are one thing. I'll go back to the fact of the matter that what truly is important here is how the American voter feels. Look, we did our own internal polling of over 1,300 small business owners that are members of our association. The beginning of this year, actually the end of last year, when Donald Trump had just won, his approval rating was at 70% amongst our small business owners. On January the 15th, we fielded another report and it dropped from 70% down to 40%. Those are the facts. And so there's moments like this that are actually fun to watch, because Donald Trump, he's a showman. I'd never want to go up against that guy. But what truly matters is what the American people, the American voter is feeling. And I am polling those people all of the time. And by the way, the 40% that our constituency said he's at in terms of approval kind of matches what the CNNs and the CBSs and the NBCs of this world are saying. They're saying he's anywhere from 38 to 40%. There's no doubt that Donald Trump has done a lot of good, particularly when it comes to the economy. Closing the border, unquestionably done an amazing job, but they've overstepped. And so now you've got members of my constituency, the small business owners in the agricultural sector, the construction sector, the hospitality sector, and even tech and manufacturing. These industries, which are cornerstone industries to the American economy, rely on immigrant labor. And right now we are in a very bad situation because we didn't have enough manpower to begin with. And now these industries that relied on immigrants are not getting the workforce they need to get the job done. And so there needs to be some kind of regulation, some kind of, stepping back from being overly aggressive when it comes to this issue of immigration. Did he close the border? Unquestionably. And he did an amazing job of that. But now they've overstepped. So they got to figure out how to come back to the industries that put him in office to begin with, and the community that put him in office to begin with, which is Hispanics. Both of them, his approval rating has dropped in both of those key kind of categories. And so there's work to be done yet. There's a State of the Union, and there's things that happen at the State of the Union. But then there are the facts of the American voters and the small business owners that are paying the bill. And he needs to kind of start to address those issues.
Okay, Matt, before you respond here, just before you respond here, I have a clip here. You guys bring up numbers, polling numbers. Javier says maybe President Trump overstepped on immigration. But take a look at this clip of a poll showing Democrats standing on immigration, just quickly.
This, I think, is so important to note. After all the events in Los Angeles, after all the events in Minneapolis, after all the events of the last year on immigration, can Democrats actually take advantage on this issue? And a look at the polling suggests actually no. They're in a worse position than they were at this point during Donald Trump's first term. Take a look here. Shows which party more on immigration. In 2018, Democrats had an edge of about 6 points. You come over to this side of the screen now. Look at that. Republicans are the ones who actually have an edge on immigration.
Okay, Matt, please, your response.
Yeah, I mean, let's parse what Javier said. And look, I agree with you, Javier, in first, that State of the Unions don't have what we in our industry call legs, meaning that it's a temporary bump, if that. They don't influence politics or political decision-making in the long run. But it's disturbing what Javier said. So, first of all, Donald Trump was very vocal in saying that he supports legal immigration. He made a point of saying that in his speech. But by not defining the difference between legal and illegal, you're basically giving tens of millions of people who snuck into this country illegally a free pass to stay. And if businesses are dependent on illegal labor that are not properly paying taxes and that are not properly papered to be in this country, that is incredibly disturbing. And frankly, those employers deserve to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We have a legal immigration process that needs to be followed and that has been a great success. Unfortunately, we have a Democratic Party that has subsisted on open borders for far too long. In fact, the Biden administration let in upwards of 10 plus million people that we have no idea where they are in this country right now. So to hear no differentiation between legal and illegal immigrants, it really makes me concerned that, I mean, that's the problem that the Democratic Party has. They just see immigrant. They don't differentiate between legal and illegal.
Okay, Javier, a couple of things please respond to. First, the poll numbers that CNN presented. And number two, Matt says there needs to be a distinction between legal and illegal immigration. And employers who employ illegal immigrants, should be prosecuted. Your reactions?
Matt's right. If you're knowingly employing people who are here illegally, you should be prosecuted. No question. He's also right that the Biden administration did very little to stem the tide of immigrants, whether legal or illegal. And sadly, too many were illegal coming into this country. But again, we got to stick to the facts. And here are the facts, Matt. 73% of the people that have been rounded up by this administration and pulled out of this country, in fact, did not have any kind of criminal record. Those are the people that were working in agriculture, manufacturing.
Coming into the country.
We can argue all day long. We can argue all day long. And that's where the Republicans are missing the point. They've made up their mind that they're on the right track.
By coming into the country.
And to a large extent, you are on the right track. But this is not unlike the same concerns I had with the Biden administration. There was once a president named Biden, and he argued about this thing called Bidenomics. And it talked about record stock highs and the GDP and all these macroeconomic arguments, which were right. Just like these arguments the Republicans are making are right. But the American family, consider, the president talked about record highs in the stock market. 93% of the stock market, of the people who own stock, that's less than 10% of Americans. Less than 10% of the wealthiest Americans own 93% of the stock in this country, which means that the other 90% of Americans don't even play in that game. So even if it's true, it doesn't impact the American family. I'm not arguing the facts. Those are accurate, but it doesn't matter to 90% of Americans who don't even own stock. That's my point. Well, I have the same argument with the Biden administration that I'm having with Republicans right now. They're stuck on their track and they're not listening to the American people and the American small business community. You can do it all day long, but already the warning signs are here. Look at what happened in New Jersey. Look at what happened in Virginia. Look at what happened right here down the street in Texas. What were normally Republican-held districts or governorships were lost to Democrats. The early warning signals are here, and stubbornly, this administration is doing exactly what the Biden administration did.
Can I say
They're
something?
All right, Matt.
Yeah. Well, again, you're selectively choosing comments because what you failed to mention was gasoline prices are down significantly that they were from the Biden administration, which helps not only families, but it also helps small business owners. Looking at families, the price of eggs is down radically over what they were under the Biden administration. Inflation is ultimately lower across the board. Interest rates are down, which helps not only businesses, small businesses get loans, but families buy houses. So progress has been made. The challenge is, again, this is what's laughable, is when you talk about affordability, going back to higher taxes and more regulation, which Abigail Spanberger is doing in Virginia right now, that's not a recipe for success in the long run. And that doesn't help small businesses, and it certainly doesn't help families. So again, Republicans, they were winning New Jersey was a long shot. The race for Virginia governor, you can only serve one term. That was always going to be a tough one for the Republicans to hold, especially with Donald Trump in power in the White House. If you look at how those races move, ultimately, 2026 is going to be fought on the voters' views of how they feel about the economy, period. And I would much rather be Donald Trump heading in to the November elections than to be the Biden or the Democrats heading into a Biden administration. Because what ultimately has happened, you're going to get huge tax break from the one big beautiful bill, which your members are all going to benefit from, as well as if Congress funds what Donald Trump said to give small business owners and wage earners the opportunity to invest in the stock market, that's going to help too. So come November, I think you're going to see big changes in the economy. And if that happens, good things will happen for Republicans. If it doesn't, then it won't. So, that's just how politics work.
All right. Javier, we're just about out of time here. Javier, just one quick comment from you, and then we'll end the conversation.
Look, I don't argue with Matt that some of the points that were made in the State of the Union were absolutely accurate and correct. I don't argue that on a macro level we are doing well as a nation. I had the same argument with the previous Democratic administration as I'm having with this Republican administration. Not all is bad, but not all is great. And the fact of the matter is that the numbers are the numbers. We can talk past each other all day long, but the approval rating amongst the American voter right now is down to 40%. And after all of this work and this State of the Union, it hasn't changed. And so my only counsel to this Republican administration is that all the business community ever wants is a stable environment in which we continue to invest, to grow jobs, and grow the American economy. And we need stability. We need a calm leader and a calm administration to kind of usher in that kind of an environment. We are behind any administration that is trying to do the right thing and get this economy back on track. There's a lot of things that have happened that are good, but this State of the Union did nothing to address the issues that are not good. And that's just the end of it. I mean, that's the way the American people feel. And no matter how much Matt and I agree or disagree on the air, at the end of the day, it matters very little to the American voter.
All right. We have to leave the conversation there. Great comments from both of you. Thank you so much, Javier and Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.